Hi, I'm Claudia De Brito, the editor of Hotelier Middle East. Today I have with me Raki Phillips, who is the CEO of Ras Al Khaimah Tourism Development Authority. Thank you very much for joining me, Raki.
Thanks, Claudia. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So we'll start with, obviously the industry has been affected by the current situation, and maybe no other industry as heavily impacted as travel and tourism due to movement restrictions. But how important is it to safeguard the industry during this time?
Well, it's so important to be able to do that. I mean, as you had mentioned, the tourism industry is really badly hit, but I think you have to look at the impact of tourism into the UAE. When you look at it, we employ in the UAE over 620,000 employees in tourism. The contribution to GDP is almost 12% of the GDP of the country. So it's quite significant. When you think about DXB Airport, it's one of the busiest airports in the world, Emirates Airlines. The fact that we have numerous airports in the country, numerous airlines, tourism is a huge factor, and it's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
So this has definitely had a huge negative impact on us. But I think if you look at other cases around the world and other things that have happened, the tourism industry is a resilient industry. We always find a way to bounce back, and when we bounce back fast. People are looking to connect. You travel around the world to see people, to connect with people, to be with people. So this is not something that we're used to. I always like to joke and say, we didn't get into the hospitality business to social distance. It's not in our DNA. It's not in our SOPs. So for us, this has been a huge transition, especially for the hotels. But it's so important that we safeguard the industry as much as possible and get ready for the recovery so that when we come out of this, we're in the best shape possible.
Absolutely. And you talk about recovery, but part of that means supporting the industry now and making sure that they're still around, that businesses are still around to come back when things open again, when the borders open again and flights start taking off again. Can you tell me a little bit about what Ras Al Khaimah Tourism is doing to help support the industry?
Yeah. So as soon as this hit, we realized that, to the point that you had said, there's a lot of smaller businesses that have liquidity issues, that are going to struggle to pay salaries. So when we decided to do a stimulus package to help support the hotels. And the way we did it is we looked at three main initiatives. One, does it safeguard the employees that work in the industry? That's priority number one. Two, does it protect the business in order for its continuity, in order for it to get through this process? And the third thing was, is this business going to be ready for the recovery phase? And so we put a stimulus package together to really work towards those three initiatives. The good thing is it was an initiative that was driven by His Highness, the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah and Supreme Council leader, Sheikh Saud bin Saqr al-Qasimi, where we presented initiatives that would help the industry. And they came in numerous options. One was a financial cash incentive that went directly to the tourism entities, so the hotels, the golf courses that we have, especially the tour guides that we have in Ras Al Khaimah that take you up to Jebel Jais. So all of those attractions, we put a formula together and ensured that for the non-state-owned entities, they would be able to get a stimulus package that was given. So the first one was a financial reward. The second one was the elimination of the tourism dirham for the second and third quarter. So technically for 6 months, we will not be charging them a tourism dirham. And you have to think about how impactful that is, because believe it or not, the month of March was a great success for us in Ras Al Khaimah. We had occupancies that were in the 80 percentile. Business was really good. And then everything obviously died off in the last week to 10 days of the month. So what we did is the great thing for the hotels, they got to keep that tourism dirham in their bank account. So that way they don't have to pay it to us. It helps with a lot of liquidities. We also decided to do 100% waiver on any fines. So there were some hotels and some entities that had fines. We waived those fines. 100% pause on for 6 months on any renewals for their license fees, all of that stuff. And then the last thing we did to focus on the recovery was any future travel in 2020 and 2021, the exhibitions that we go to. And as Ras Al Khaimah Tourism, we travel about 250 days a year, the team does around the world, that we would waive all participation fees for the hotel. So it really was very focused on that. In addition to that, we created 2 committees. We created an internal committee, which if you are a business owner that's eligible for it, we would be able to assist you. And the second committee is we created a steering committee of other CEOs in Ras Al Khaimah that are influential. So we could, as an entity, go out and ask for additional support. So for example, the steering committee reached out to Ittisalat and Do to see what they can do for the hotels. We reached out to the FIWA, and where FIWA is the a water and electricity provider, and we were able to get a 20% reduction in their fees. We went to the other entities to try to get waivers. We even had discussions with the VAT authority to see what we can do from a waiver and that type of stuff. And it really worked to our benefits. Even RAK Insurance or RAK Bank, what can be done to help support those, and we would be able to guide them. So very, very pleased that we were able to do that.
Wow, I can imagine all of those incentives together are a massive lifeline for, especially as you mentioned, smaller businesses who might have liquidity issues. Just with that in mind, can you take me through the financial incentive package? Just a little bit more detail with that.
Sure. So basically, the financial incentive package was granted for the non-government-owned touristic entities. So really, it's for the independent business owners. It included budget and mid-scale to 4-star hotels. So any of the hotels that are not the 5-star luxury hotels, as well as attractions, so the golf courses and any other tourism establishments. So what we did is we announced it on April 1st was when we did a webinar. We invited, we had about 250 participants that joined our webinar, a Zoom call similar to this. We launched the initiative. So I'm really proud to say that we made the announcement on April 1st, and we were able to get all of the financial checks to the different businesses within a 2-week period. So before April 15th, these business owners were able to collect the checks. And the reason it was so important is to help them pay the salaries that they're owed, be able to help them pay some of their expenses and help them keep afloat. We also worked with some of the landlords to do deferrals on the rent or any reductions and that type of stuff.
Amazing. The UAE government as a whole, though, has been quite supportive as well, hasn't it?
Definitely. And right when the crisis hit, so probably at the end, mid to end of March, we, as the heads of tourism of the UAE, so with my colleagues at the other tourism authorities, we were able to have a call with the Minister of Economy. And because of how important tourism is to the UAE, we asked for certain requirements. So some of them were focused on individuals and some of them were focused on SMEs. And I'm very pleased to say that a lot of the things that we had recommended have gone through. So for example, there were 10 initiatives that were done for individuals, 7 initiatives for SMEs. Some of these including defer of installments. So if you've got a bank loan, you can contact your bank and be able to defer up to 3 months if you've been affected by COVID-19. There was a halt on foreclosures and mortgages, halt on suspensions of bank accounts, and just really assisting in many things. And then for SMEs, a big part of it was a deferment, again, of your installments. a reduction in bank fees, reduction in interest fees. So there was a lot of that was done. So that was from the Ministry of Economy. And then we worked with the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization that put together criteria to assist businesses in this period. So if you are going to lay someone off, there are opportunities where you can actually keep them, but maybe do a salary reduction. So that way they're still earning something. There were certain permits that you were able, certain approvals that you were going to do. And the government was extremely, extremely flexible and very, very focused. And I was pleased to say that they took our points into consideration. Many of them have already been implemented, like the 17 financial initiatives that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Some of the other ones are still in process, and I'm sure before the end of the month, we'll even hear, and on a daily basis, hear more things.
Wow. Well, we look forward to hearing more, but I mean, already so much has been done. I really do believe that the UAE has been at the forefront of really safeguarding industries and especially travel and tourism, which, as you said, is so important to this country. Just to finish on a positive note, are there any positive effects that you can see coming out of this going forward? So maybe in the long term, do you think this will change the way we do business going forward in a good way?
I do. I think the industry needs to innovate itself a lot. And I think that's so important to be able to do that. You need to innovate any industry. One of the oldest industries in the world is the hotel and lodging business, and things are quite traditional. So I think it's great to be able to rethink the way we do things to meet the demands of a new customer. I think the industries and the businesses that will succeed are the ones that can pivot the fastest. They can meet the needs of the demand. And what's important is to understand the recovery process. So we strongly believe that once people are able to get out of quarantine and travel domestically, because truly the UAE is one of the best places to be during this crisis for various reasons. But once people are going to be able to, Ras Al Khaimah will be a great place that people will want to escape to and go on what we're calling a shortcation. And really it's to resonate how close we are into the rest of the Emirates. So from Dubai to Ras Al Khaimah, it's only a 45-minute drive. You go there, you book a 3-night stay at any of our hotels. The kids go for free and eat for free. And then you get 2 free attraction tickets. So either 2 tickets to the Jebel Jay zip line or 2 tickets to the Al Suwaidi Pearl Farm. And we are ready to welcome our guests as soon as it is safe to travel. And I think it'll be a great escape and a great way to reconnect. Social distancing will need to be applied. The way an employee greets you and treats you is going to be very different than what it used to be. We're still going to have engaging staff, but it might be done in a little bit different. And I do think it's very, so domestically, that's where the focus is. The next step is going to be international travel. And I see that happening through fit-to-fly travel corridors. And what that's going to mean is, let's say the UAE and another country will have a fit-to-fly agreement so that you can fly between the countries, which will be safe and COVID-free. And I think that's how the world will start to open. So that means we have to be creative, because the fit-to-fly travel corridor could be a country that we've never worked with, or a tourist that hasn't flown to our destination. So it allows us to be more creative with the way we do things. But it's beautiful to see the creativity that's coming out of people during this crisis. I got to tell you, before quarantine, I had no idea what TikTok was. And now all I see is these TikTok videos going on. So people are finding ways to entertain themselves, finding ways to be creative. And I genuinely believe that, people were able to reconnect with new things, and hopefully we'll be able to take that to the next level in the business world.
I hope so. Well, we look forward to some TikToks from you, Raki. Thank you so much for joining us. It was super insightful, and always a pleasure to speak to you, Raki.
Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you.